Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. It is Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. That's a misprint. No such thing as 2024, Denny. There's no such thing as 2008 being 16 years ago. That was the first one that really got me. I don't know why. I somehow thought I was thinking of 2008 last night. It's like, that was 16 years ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago. And 2024 only exists in science fiction.
It does. That was the 16 years ago for 2008 was the one that, quote, messed me up. There's a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
It's week 18. So we have all the craziness, like who's actually trying to win football games this weekend. We're going to touch on the Ravens, the Niners, the Browns, the Eagles, teams that have a lot more to play for, like the Bills and the Dolphins. We're going to get into the injury news, the Vikings quarterback, ongoing nightmare, the Bears and Cardinals ongoing quarterback conundrum with Justin Fields and Kyler Murray. What do they do next year? The Ravens going super pass heavy of late. We love to see it.
We do.
The Eagles and Bills going super run heavy of late. Less love to see.
Don't love that as much.
No, George Pickens, Breece Hall, two guys who are just annihilated the consolation bracket. Like they blew up the consolation bracket. If you had George Pickens and Breece Hall, the second they stepped on the field in week 15, you were guaranteed seventh place. You weren't in the main bracket, but seventh was wrapped up.
But the other consolation teams will never recover from what
they will never, ever recover. Ever. They actually won't. They won't ever recover from the George Pickens week 16 game. That's that's one that will stay with you forever.
I will say that Pickens, I think, was on the $3 million best ball team.
What Pickens on the teams that did sneak in with George Pickens and say like your opponent had to start them like in week 16, because they probably weren't like confidently starting him in Mason Rudolph's first start. But man, I got nothing else. Like Christian Watson's hurt. I guess I just got to put Pickens in there, and then he won you $1.2 million even in your home league.
And even in your $20 home league. It's amazing how that works. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that we can confidently say that George Pickens is better in best ball.
He is better in best ball, and it's somehow better with Mason Rudolph. The Steelers they've already informed us. The Steelers have told us, do not put it in the paper that they are in hell. That they are in absolute hell. That by far the best quarterback on their roster is still Mason Rudolph.
Kenny Pickett had to hold a press conference. The backup quarterback had to hold a press conference saying, I am indeed the backup.
I am, and then he's not mad. And then please seriously do not put it in the actual paper that you all write for, since you're here and you all have access to newspapers, even if it's online. Do not put it in there that I was mad. That was bunk.
And that he was not so mad that he refused to dress last week. He told people not to do that.
He did tell people not to do it. We're already kind of functionally into the show, but real quick, I wanted to ask about that college football playoff, Denny. First off, did you watch it? As a Maryland diehard, someone who knows all 90 players on the Maryland Terrapin football roster.
I did. Well, I didn't watch my Terps in their bowl game, whoever they played. I actually did. I did watch both games yesterday, and I found them quite good. Quite good. I am now obsessed with Michael Penix.
Oh yeah, man. He's the only thing about Michael Penix is you go to his Wikipedia, like this guy's 29 years old.
No, wait. He's 23.
He is 23. He turns 24 in May, though.
Now he started college in 2018. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time.
Okay,
ago.
and that will be held against him,
as it should.
I will say though that you rarely get. This is my take. We'll talk about this in the offseason, of course. But Penix, I saw him play. I don't know, 4 or 5 games this year. You rarely get that sort of smarts. He's an incredibly smart, savvy quarterback with that sort of arm strength. It's usually one or the other, right? You usually have a cannon arm and you never actually had to develop the smarts part, right? Or you had to develop the smarts because you don't have the cannon arm. You combine those two, you get Michael Penix. I like that.
You do. I just a little, what a surprise. The 23-year-old throwing one rope after another against 18-year-old Texas NIL cornerbacks who are only there because they paid them more than Alabama. I will say that it's I will say though, the last time this happened, it was Joe Burrow, and he's turned out pretty good.
Yeah, right. It's exactly right. Yeah, folks like to point that out. There have been also busts who have been old coming into the league.
There have been.
But wow, I mean, I think Michael Penix could be an upgrade for a lot of teams. A lot of teams.
I mean, he's literally twice as good as Kenny Pickett. Like, if he was on the Steelers, they would be starting him this weekend.
The Steelers, they would win the Super Bowl easily.
He's 2 times as good as Kenny Pickett. Easily better than Mason Rudolph. My final thought on that was Michigan-Bama was like one of the all-time disaster class games. Like, who wants this game less? The guy fumbling it at the 1-yard line with like 1 minute left.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
What? But I tweeted, sorry to cut you off and sorry to regurgitate my tweet, but one of the biggest mistakes I've ever seen in a football game, but then he recovered by showing like the greatest field awareness I've ever seen. And then the greatest hands I've ever, he got avalanched and held on with one hand.
So when he recovered it and I saw that he was faced, toward the stands, not the field. And I saw the defenders coming in. I thought, well, it's over. Like, this kid's going to get hit. He's going to fumble, obviously, and it's going to be a touchdown for Alabama, and it's over. Okay. Or I'm sorry, touchdown for it was touchdown for Michigan.
I don't remember. I think it was 20-20 when this happened.
No, I mean, who was
Bama?
receiving?
It would have been a touchdown for Bama. It was
right. So it was a touchdown for Bama. Game over. Like that was the scenario that was going through my head. But you're right. Incredible field awareness for that guy. So way to go there. And do we ever get an explanation about what happened on the final play with Milroe? Like, was the play for him to dive head first into the middle of the line?
Well, there was a theory making the rounds on Twitter with a lot of retweets that it was supposed to be a running back swing pass, and they had the blockers set up, but that Milroe panicked at the latest low snap in the game. But after the game, Saban didn't say anything about that. He's just like, yeah, we ran it right up the gut. Like, he basically he was like, he was acting to it like it was their third option. Because remember, they had the dueling timeouts. And so someone on Twitter was like, no, trust me, the play wasn't actually this dumb. It was going to be a swing pass. But then Saban was basically, yeah, the play was this dumb.
I think he's trying to cover for Milroe.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
maybe.
I think Milroe freaked out and just literally just jumped into a pile of bodies.
I will say, though, his reaction was so fast that I don't even know if he had time to freak out. I feel like that was the play call, was to like the quarterback jumbo up the middle, or quarterback
a jumbo up
shot.
So it
was bad.
It was honestly like the most anticlimactic, worst play I've ever seen to end a football game.
Someone on Twitter compared it to the infamous Griff Whalen special teams Colts play. It had similar energy to that. Did have similar energy to that.
I mean, first of all, Milroe was tripped up. He kneed his offensive lineman so hard. I'm really trying not to like make light of this, but like the offensive lineman was screaming in pain as the play was happening.
It wasn't a great play call.
Milroe had kneed him so hard.
Was not a great play call.
I mean, really, like one of the worst plays I've ever seen in any level of football.
It was up there. Denny, we are going to see some of the worst plays we've ever seen in any level of football this weekend, because a lot of teams will not be trying. There's going to be a lot of number 2s, a lot of number 3s out in the field. Some for teams who have, they can't improve their seeding in the playoffs, or like it's between the 5 and the 6. So like, who really cares? Some other teams are out of it. And about teams, I will say to their credit, almost never openly tank, nor do I think they should ever openly tank. I actually thought like the Texans took too much flack for winning that game last year. Like you can try to tank in the offseason, like the way you construct your roster, but like once the game starts, you have to play the game. Yeah. You have to actually try to play the game. So we're probably not going to really see a whole lot of that. But who does it look like on Tuesday right now might not be playing this weekend, either because the seed is locked up, they can't really improve the seed.
Right.
Who are like the big fantasy teams that will not really be trying in week 18?
I can't imagine that the Ravens will play anybody this week. They're going to pretend. They're going to, I don't know. Maybe Lamar will start. He's not going to start. He's not going to play. He's not going to see a single snap. He's not going to even be dressed for this game. I actually think that the Ravens might not even play Tyler Huntley. Like it's that kind of thing, because they want Tyler Huntley fresh and healthy in case Lamar goes down in the postseason. So it could be, I don't even know who Malik Cunningham.
It'll probably be Huntley, because I think they might view it from a different angle than that, where in case Lamar gets hurt in the playoffs, they don't want it to have been 4 months since Huntley saw like a live rep.
Oh, I see.
In the preseason. Right. I understand what the point you're making, but I think Huntley will play all 60 minutes probably in this game.
So yeah, I mean, you have him, you have the rest of the starters who won't play. I mean, I don't know if you want to go like step by step through these rosters, but like Melvin Gordon will probably see a lot of run in this game. Yeah, he's still on the team, folks. He actually got some run last week. And then you have likely we'll probably sit out for Charlie Kohler. It's Charlie Kohler season, folks. So the Ravens definitely a team that not playing their starters.
Is there any risk that since they have the bye, like we want to be fresh? And, this has been a storyline in the NFL. It's been a huge storyline in baseball where the teams that buys keep immediately getting swept by teams that were expansion teams in 1998. And they want to avoid that indignity. But the Lamar, he's gotten hurt so many times the past few years. Like the stars finally realigned for the Ravens this year. I cannot see them risking anyone on Sunday.
No, they're not playing. No.
The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan tends to overthink things a little more than John Harbaugh. They are also locked into the number 1 seed. But I feel like the CMC injury in week 17 probably put an end to any Niner playing this weekend. Is that what you think?
Yeah, I mean, Deebo Samuel came out on Tuesday and said, yeah, I'm playing, but I don't believe that. Especially a guy who is as injury plagued.
He was on the injury report with a neck issue last week. You really need to be playing in week 18.
There's no way. There's just simply no way he's playing. I think Sam Darnold would probably get the start here to protect Purdy. I mean, Purdy might play like you said, Shanahan likes to think. And so we might get Purdy for a drive or two until here's what we'll get Purdy until he takes one shot to the ribs and then he's out. Okay.
Shanny likes to think. He really does. That should be his epitaph.
Yeah.
Liked to think. And you're like someone in the future reading, that's I'm sure that's only good, right? Well, for the most part.
As an overthinker myself, I can tell you it's not.
True. It's true. I will never overthink anything, including the pronunciation of simple names.
the most simple. Wilson. Wilson?
I know before we get on live. Adam and Denny, how do you this is Wilson?
You had trouble with my last name. So yeah, we the Niners, the Browns, I believe, are locked in.
Locked into the 5.
We're not, and by the way, the Vegas lines kind of reflect this reality. So just look to the Vegas lines if you have any questions headed into the weekend. I think the Rams are locked in.
The Rams they're either the 5 or the 6. I don't think they can be the 7. The Eagles could be the 2 or the 5, but I think the Eagles are going to proceed as if the Cowboys are going to demolish the Commanders. And the Eagles, Jalen Hurts' knee has been bothering him for like 3 months. I actually can't really see the Eagles attempting to win this game on Sunday. The Eagles are kind of like the swing trouble spot. The Lions could almost be a trouble spot, but probably not. I think they have too much dog in them. But it's a classic. Keep it locked to rotoworld.com and check out Kyle Dvorchak's motivation tracker. What were your final thoughts?
Yeah, right. So Kyle Dvorchak has compiled a motivation tracker for week 18. It's honestly, I'm not joking. Like, it is a vital resource if you're playing any sort of fantasy contest for this week. So save that tab, whatever the Zoomers are doing with the tabs, you do that. And I will just keep that tab up all week. It'll be updated as things progress. The Eagles, I kind of disagree on because first of all, they're reeling and they want to get that bad taste out of their mouth from losing to Arizona. And I don't think any team is going to say, well, the Cowboys are going to win. And so
it's true. We have all watched the Dallas Cowboys for the past 30 years.
Yeah, right. I mean, the Cowboys are pretty live to lose this game to the Commanders.
If Jacoby Brissett actually plays, they're alive to lose.
Oh man, the Brissett era really was.
What was your favorite part? What was your favorite memory?
I think my favorite part was before he injured his hamstring. 24 hours before the first snap.
Had you already built any lineups when that happened by any chance?
I'm not joking. No bit, nothing. So DraftKings has a Superflex contest. I had built 10 Superflex lineups, all of them with the Jacoby Brissett, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin stack.
And the family left when you had to go edit those.
I had to go throw in other guys who did very poorly. So.
As they have been known to do. So we just talked about who might not be trying. 2 teams we know are going to be trying are the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills. And before we get into evaluating the game a little, we would be remiss. We would not tell you that this de facto AFC East Championship game will be on NBC and Peacock in primetime Sunday evening. The final game that matters of the 2023-24 NFL regular season. The coverage, of course, begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Yeah, Denny. So NBC, we get our choice of whatever game to put in prime time in Week 18, and this was a no-brainer. It is like it's the division championship game. It's a de facto playoff game. There's a lot on the line. The Dolphins are in the playoffs. The Bills, stunningly, despite their recent hot streak, 10-6, looking a lot better. They are not in. They need to win. If they win, they're in, of course. If they lose, they can still get in, but they need like a weird amount of help. Like they really need the Steelers to lose, and a lot riding on this game. A lot riding on it in like fantasy contests. And so, like if you played in like a season-long points league or something, injury questions in this game. But first, what is your lean on this game? The Bills demolished the Miami Dolphins 48-20 earlier this season.
My lean is that the Dolphins are in big trouble, and I believe this because for a few reasons. One, they're going to be without Xavier Howard, cornerback. They're going to be without Bradley Chubb, who was his. Is it a season-ending injury?
It sounds like a season-ending torn ACL, and there's probably official word on that we should already know by now. But they were like, and Jalen Ramsey's banged up too. He'll probably play.
Right, he's banged up. They have some offensive line injury issues, so the Dolphins head into this game in injury hell. Okay, they're playing a Bills team. I think that is kind of designed to get by against this Dolphins defense. The Dolphins defense has been way better, and I just mentioned the injuries, so take that for what it's worth. But they have been better, but they've still been a little bit vulnerable on the ground. And the Bills, as we have discussed, the Bills have gone super ultra Falcons run heavy of late since week 15. So week 15 to 17, they have a 41% drop back rate, Pat. That's 12% under their expected drop back rate. That sort of approach, I think, is the kind that can, get by against Miami. I think they'll continue to be super run heavy. I don't see the Dolphins. I'm trying not to overstate it. I just don't think that they can even compete here.
Well, I don't know. This game is weird because the Dolphins have become the classic. They cannot get behind offense. And if they get behind, things spiral very, very quickly. Tua Tagovailoa is not built to play from behind. The offense is so elaborate. It's so like heavily schemed and orchestrated that like Mike McDaniel said, we're 3-0, we're losing. Like he just he starts crying on the side. Like, wow. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, to put it like kind of crass way, the fancy stuff doesn't work when you're down 2 scores in the second half. Like,
and Denny no longer believes in analytics.
I mean, the fancy, like you said, like highly orchestrated offense.
Yeah. Now we've talked about all year. Too orchestrated, like an ultimate injuries off offense, and the injuries, of course, happen.
Tua is not dropping. We all know this. Like I feel like we should just be upfront about Tua is not dropping back, scrambling, and making plays while down 2 scores in the second half. That is simply not happening. It never has happened. It never will happen. He's not that kind of quarterback. Now, the game, if they keep things neutral or if the Dolphins grab a lead, they're in a great spot. I mean, I do believe that, but I just think that they're going to be put in a position where Tua can't do the highly orchestrated thing, and so it's Jover.
I think the Dolphins' path to victory. So it's in Miami. The Bills are currently 3-point favorites. So Vegas is thinking, the bookmakers are thinking along the same lines as us. But as you have pointed out in many recent shows, and as you just pointed out by talking about their super high run rate, the Bills have been playing not to lose for the better part of a month now. They have Sean McDermott, his coach is tilted out of his mind. He is coaching tilted out of his mind as usual, like changing the entire offensive approach on the fly. And if they just go out there sticking with this run heavy thing and they don't get up 10-0 early in the second quarter and let the Dolphins hang around, if you let the Dolphins do enough, like, not that they're scripting drives into the second quarter, but if you let them do enough like Dolphins style, like XYZ drives, that's how the Dolphins win this game. If the Bills are just like super conservative early, which I could see happening.
Sure.
McDermott, boy, you talk about a guy who likes to think.
Yeah, that actually is a good point. McDermott's terror of losing is so apparent. I mean, it always has been apparent.
It's nuts,
but it has gotten to like a critical level. So I could definitely see a scenario where his conservative play calling and like just trying to eke by comes back to bite the Bills. I just struggle. I just struggle to see the Dolphins being able to hold this Bills offense down with so many injuries. If they were fully healthy, I'd probably lean Miami here.
Yeah, they are just so banged up. So speaking of maybe the Bills run heavy approach, by the way, Do you have any idea? I know there was a few reports out like what is going on with Stefon Diggs. There was like a report the other day like that was finally quote explaining why he wasn't playing like first or second downs or something. It was like a lot of downs. And I was like, all this report does is give me more questions. Like
it is weird usage. I mean,
this guy, there's no way this guy's not having 3 surgeries in February is my opinion.
Right. I mean, I think we've probably reached, I think Diggs is 31. I think that he's probably reached the point where it's time to shift to the slot, that sort of thing. Larry Fitzgerald did this very successfully. Some other veteran, types have made this move, and maybe he's not, the same outside guy who can burn guys the way
he
did
going
when
nuts to begin the season.
24 years old.
He went totally nuts like the first 2 months.
He did miss on it. He missed on a 90-yard touchdown by a few inches on a bad throw by Josh Allen this past week. So this conversation would be totally different if he had caught that one. If Allen had thrown a better ball.
Steph Diggs has been under 30 yards 3 of the past 4 weeks and 4 of the past 6.
And that has something to do, well, maybe a lot to do with the Bills deciding to completely abandon the pass.
I just wonder how much of it's like chicken and the egg, where they want to go more run heavy, but also their number one weapon is really hurt. And I wonder if they're like feeding off of each other. By the way, earlier we were talking about games, like who's trying this weekend, and you were talking about how the bookmakers are kind of telling us some of these lines. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lack -3. I'm like, who the hell are the Chargers favored against the Chiefs? So the Chiefs will not be trying this weekend.
You're right. We're thinking that line has been affected by Chad Henne playing or whoever. Oh, Gabbert.
Yeah, it is Mr. Blaine Gabbert. The Chiefs, who cannot improve their number 3 seed, will not be trying in England. It's going to be a Chiefs home. It's going to be so weird. There'll be a lot of Chiefs fans who probably had tickets to this game for like 2 months. Even with the Chiefs not trying, the stadium's going to be like 90% crazed Chiefs fans.
Man, who's going to play for the Chiefs? Who's going to get the running back touches?
Boy, is Deneric Prince still around?
Oh, Prince season. Finally
Prince season.
We just had to wait 4 months.
So yeah, we'll move on. You know what? We'll move on real quick after a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor is NBC, Peacock, and the Golf Network. The PGA Tour season tees off in Hawaii this weekend as golf's biggest stars hit the links in Lahaina. It's the Century, and you can watch Thursday through Sunday on NBC, Golf Channel, and Peacock. And don't forget, no, that was later. Wow. Love to botch the promo.
Kapalua, man.
Yeah. So first off, have you already built lineups for the Century?
We have what we're calling a shell lineup, and that could be subject to tweaking, but we are back to grinding PGA. Yes.
So I watch almost every sport on NBC. I don't watch the PGA this early in the calendar, but this happens to me. I've already talked about this in the podcast, I think, but every single January, I'll get a text from my dad on like Saturday afternoon about like the boys in Hawaii or something. And like texting me out the tournament, like, how is there already a tournament?
Listen, maybe it's like the contrarian hipster in me, Pat, but I love January golf.
It is amazing. It is actually amazing.
Listen, it's prime time. Okay. I can turn on the TV at 7:30 at night and watch guys playing in the broad daylight in Hawaii. That's perfect. I love that. I wish that were the case all year round.
Lahaina is an amazing place, by the way, too. One of the very best places on planet Earth. Not one of the very best places on planet Earth is the Vikings quarterback position right now.
Yes.
Kevin O'Connell. He's Kevin O'Connell, man. He's like thinking in real time. He's telling the reporters he's already decided on his Week 18 QB, but he can't announce it. He said, "Don't say that I'm tilting." And he very quickly said, "All right, I'm tilting."
Yeah. He's tilting.
He just admitted to the press he's tilting. Right. That didn't happen. What's going on? The Vikings quarterback. What have they done wrong? What might happen in Week 18?
I mean, look, I actually think that you need to concede to my point from last week when I said that Nick Mullins was benched because he threw one bad throw. He had one bad throw.
You remember my counter take, right? Is that it was 5 to 6 truly awful throws. It wasn't just one bad. One bad throw you were mentioning was, of course, the game-ending pick. That was the worst throw we've ever seen.
It is one of the worst picks. I mean, just a flutter ball down the middle into quadruple coverage. Like,
it was a dove shot out of the air by a shotgun halfway.
Exactly. Rest in peace to the dove and to Nick Mullins' chances for being the starter, I guess. But But yeah, so Kevin O'Connell was mad about that. So he benches Nick Mullins, which honestly was a crazy decision to put a 5th round rookie, Jaron Hall, in there. Jaron Hall, 0.0 awareness in the pocket, has no clue where any defenders are.
No.
He was not ready to start in the NFL. Clearly, he was in a bad spot. I feel bad for him. Okay, so they have to yank him, put Mullins in. Mullins is the only quarterback of the three of Dobbs, Hall, and Mullins. He's the only one who can run the offense even remotely like it's supposed to go. So it should have been Mullins all along, and it's going to be Mullins this week.
I think it absolutely going to be Mullins this week. But I sorry to again steal one of my own tweets, but the way I think of Josh Dobbs, and you're not a gamer. I'm actually not really a gamer, but the way I think of Josh, he comes in with like a full health meter. And every like 2 or 3 weeks, he's like, oh, he's down to 2 heart pieces. Like this guy's like barely staying alive. We need to bench him for a while, let him recharge, recuperate. I do feel like if Josh Dobbs played, he'd maybe be like powered back up and ready to take a team by surprise for a week. But it feels like it has to be Nick Mullins against.
It has to be.
Lions.
And I'm going to give the folks a stat. I guess I'm a Nick Mullins truther. I guess that's what it's come to. Nobody has a higher completion rate over expected than Nick Mullins over the past month.
Stop.
Nobody, Pat.
Stop. The past week? Who cares?
I said the past month.
Oh, all right. Still, how many passes has he thrown? Like 50?
Over the past month? More than that?
It's probably like 50, I think. Maybe it's like 80.
He probably has 100 dropbacks over the past month. There's no way to find out. There's
literally no way to find out. As we both type.
But yeah, I mean, so what I'm saying is Nick Mullins, I mean, look, maybe it's just
it's 104 passes, by the way.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, Nick Mullins, maybe it's my fantasy bias, but he's the only one who can make this offense click a little bit. Okay. And the fact that he was benched because, again, one bad throw was egregious.
Terry Bradshaw's Pro Football Reference is logged on, by the way. Nick Mullins has 5 touchdowns and 6 picks, but is averaging 8.8 yards per attempt. It's like true 1978.
I like that
PFR style. This is not a bit. Do you have any lineups built yet for Week 18?
No, I actually don't.
Are you going to be building any Nick Mullins lineups for Week 18?
Am I?
Seriously, not a bit. Are you going to have some Nick Mullins lineups?
Of course. Here's what I'm going to have. You're going to have Mullins, Jefferson, Johnny Munt lineups. Oof. That's what you have.
Jefferson? Is there anyone you compare him with besides Jefferson? You can't do Addison and Jefferson.
Well, no, because look, if Mullins has a big-ish day, it has to go through Jefferson. Like he's not going to be able to do anything without Jefferson. I guess if Addison plays, you can throw him in there. But Johnny Munt is the key. I think that's the point.
So it's a quarterback nightmare for the Vikings. It's not quite a quarterback nightmare for the Chicago Bears or the Arizona Cardinals, but like I said in the opener, it's a quarterback conundrum. There'll be a lot of people that say we don't need to see any more from Justin Fields, that he's clearly an NFL level starter, but he's not the kind of starter where you can pass on the number 1 pick in back-to-back years. And then Kyler Murray, we had questions about him before the torn ACL. He tore the ACL. He's come back. He's not been impressive. He hasn't been a disaster. He hasn't had a good supporting cast. Kind of like a clickbaity type topic, but who is more likely? I guess the answer actually is already Kyler because of his contract. But who's more likely to be back with their current team next year, Justin Fields or Kyler Murray? Can it be both of them? Could it be neither of them? Just what do you think is like the lay of the land with these 2 quarterback question marks?
So with Fields, I do think, and I looked at a lot of extremely nerdy metrics to come to this conclusion. I'll share those with the folks in a second. I don't see any case for bringing him back. I don't know. I do think it's time to move on. And the one thing that got me, Pat, was that I thought just, from the film, I thought that he had progressed as an intermediate passer this year. Well, the opposite is true. On passes from 10 to 19 yards this season, Justin Fields is completing 49% of his attempts for 8.7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on those throws, again, from 10 to 19 yards. Now, you look at last year, and I don't remember him being very good on those passes last year, but last year, 66% completion rate compared to 49%, 11.7 yards per attempt compared to 8.7. And he had 4 touchdowns and 2 picks on those throws. So he actually has regressed significantly on those intermediate throws. He stayed about the same on deep throws.
I was going to say, has he been better on deep throws since he actually has DJ Moore this year? But I guess the answer is no.
It's been slightly better this year than last year, and certainly than 2021. But I just don't see it. I don't see like a huge leap as a passer that would suggest that the Bears have to keep Fields.
We know that he's kind of a model breaker, which is of course a dangerous mindset to adopt. Like, I know every stat says, but when I watch this guy, he does crazy stuff because he does do a lot of crazy stuff.
He's exciting.
Play. He's the first exciting Bears quarterback in so long.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I just don't know if you can really pass on I still think it's going to be Caleb Williams. And yeah, I think you can probably get a second-round pick for Justin Fields still.
I would say first.
First might be a stretch. I think maybe you can get 2 seconds for Justin Fields. Or maybe a second and a third. I don't think you can really get a first for him, probably.
I feel like the Falcons would give up a first.
The Falcons just feel like the so heavy odds-on favorite for Justin Fields, whether or not Arthur Smith. But I think Arthur Smith's going to be gone, and I think they're going to we got our do-over on Justin Fields. We're doing it right this time.
If the Falcons move on from Arthur Smith and bring in Justin Fields and get a creative, offensively, offensive leaning mind in there at head coach, I think things could be really exciting because we joke, but like Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, that's almost as good as it gets as far as a wide receiver, tight end, running back combo.
The Falcons just have to hire the first Shanahan clone they can find. Like,
please,
the 49ers tight end coach. I don't care if he's never called plays for, just hire him.
Shanahan, the guy who delivers Shanahan's waters, get him.
Get anyone who's ever been in the same room with Kyle Shanahan to coach the Atlanta Falcons next year. Kyler Murray, you think so I agree with you. I do think it is a genuine debate with the Bears, but I think that Fields is probably gone. Kyler Murray, it would have to be more creative. I guess it would have to be like a trade. Do you think he's back with Arizona next year?
Yeah, he'll be back because they're stuck. They're stuck.
Money.
I want to share again some numbers with the folks because I did the research and I'm concerned. I'm concerned about Kyler Murray.
He's been terrible.
You said it, but the numbers tend to agree. So there's a stat when you combine EPA, aka expected points added, with completion rate over expected. It's a really good measure.
It comes dangerously close, the acronym to COPE.
It's a good measure of a quarterback's overall play and their efficiency. So if you take the zoomed out view of Kyler Murray since 2020, I looked at the stats from 2020 through the current week in 2023 or 2024, I guess. Folks, Kyler is 20th among 35 qualifying quarterbacks in that category, right there alongside Jared Goff and Matt Stafford. He has the same dropback success rates, and I take no pleasure in saying this, as Derek Carr and Andy Dalton over that time. So what are we talking about here? You can make a lot of excuses. Cliff Kingsbury, we don't know because Kyler hasn't played with Randy Moss in his prime. We don't know if he's good. That whole thing, which we do with everybody, right?
We do.
But my conclusion is that you can't base an offense around Kyler Murray. You have to base it around somebody else, around a playmaking wide receiver, somebody else. It can't be him.
Listen, if Bryce Young gets Walter Jones, Priest Holmes, and Dick Vermeil, he's going to turn this around real fast.
Yes, that's right. That's what they say.
Real fast. We'll turn this show around real fast when we return after this. Don't miss a doubleheader of Big Ten basketball in the Great Lakes State tonight. The action starts when Penn State takes on Michigan State at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by a nightcap of Minnesota and Michigan at 9 p.m. Eastern. Both matchups can be found exclusively on Peacock. And don't forget, find all your favorite NBC sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. Our Big Ten basketball graphic was quite beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
Really nice. I like looking at that. I got a little distracted reading because I was trying to look at how nice the graphic was. I had a final Kyler Murray thought. I don't remember what it was.
Hasn't been good. Any way you slice it, adjusted net yards per attempt, all these things, I can tell you from doing the research that it just hasn't been good, and he hasn't been very good as a rusher. Like,
Say, just don't leave out the eye test when discussing where Kyler Murray has not been good. He's been very bad from the eye test too.
Yeah, and the I thought I would find something in the rushing. Okay, like he like really adds something via the rushing, but he doesn't. He has not.
We're getting dangerously close to Cliff Kingsbury did nothing wrong territory. We are getting dangerously close to exonerating Cliff Kingsbury. So, Cliff, if you're out there, we hope you come back from Thailand and coach American football.
Eventually,
you are allowed back into the State Department as they've uncanceled your passport.
Right, you are repatriated. I believe
you are. Yes, you are repatriated to the United States.
The State Department has studied the EPA data. You can come back.
Yes, they have. So we'll stick with quarterback talk and just the Ravens. We talk about how they're not really going to play this weekend, but they've been going super pass heavy. Has this coincided with the running back injuries for one? How pass heavy are we talking? And it has coincided, I think, with more fantasy points following.
Yeah, so it is a whole new thing in Baltimore, and it's really cool to see the Ravens unleash Lamar Jackson. Like, they seem to be unafraid to just say, Lamar, you're dropping back, and like flinging it everywhere, and it's paid dividends. I really hope that this continues into the postseason. I hope that they don't get scared and get conservative. But just to put some numbers to it, in the first 11 weeks of the season, the Ravens were 2% over their expected pass rate on first downs. Okay, so that's fine, but it's nothing compared to being 13% over their expected pass rate on first downs over the past 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I'm sorry. So they have gone super pass heavy on first downs. That's what good, smart teams do. And overall, last week, only 2 teams had a higher neutral pass rate. Neutral meaning when the game is within 7 points. So it's not like the Ravens are falling behind in games and having to just drop back and throw it a lot. Against the 49ers, when they were up big, they were still dropping back. I think that's great news for Lamar and this Ravens offense.
That felt personal to the 49ers, probably. That might have was like, we got to kill the 49ers.
But I hope that Lamar finds personal insults to fuel him throughout the postseason, because this is working. Like, they humiliated the Dolphins. And by the way, when they were up big against the Dolphins, guess what they were doing? Dropping back and throwing.
So I wish I loved anything more than the Dolphins love allowing 50 points in any game. It's like a litmus test for how far along they are.
It's hey, you know what though? They can beat the Panthers any day of the week.
Oh, come on! They literally just beat the Cowboys. I think we're overstating it a little bit.
I guess I'm a hater.
I'm honestly a Dolph fan. I really want them to succeed. I've had Tua in my primary 2 quarterback home league all year, and we'll say Tua used to throw more than 1 touchdown more often.
I like Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I do. I love Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of us. He's just a nerdy 30-something.
He is. We love him. The Dolphins are going to win Sunday night on NBC. You heard it here first. They're going to lose, but they're going to win.
They're going to win our hearts.
Yes, exactly. The final piece we have on like the approaches teams that you wanted to talk about the Eagles and Bills going super run heavy. You already talked about the Bills. Tell us about what the Eagles offensive approach has been heading into week 18. Where again, like there's debate whether or not they'll even try. You think they will. I sort of think they won't, but it's a genuine debate. What's going on with the run heaviness of the Eagles?
So 3 weeks ago, they had fans camping outside of Eagles headquarters, with signs that said "Run the ball." And Nick Sirianni bought them coffee, and Nick Sirianni should have yelled at them to go away.
He should have like veered. He should have not hit them with his car. He should have done that thing where he acted like he was veering over, and he rolled down his window and leaned out. Like, hey, you want some of it? What of it? What of it? And he's never fully stops because he doesn't actually want them to come in his car.
Maybe have the interns throw water balloons at the people holding the signs, something like that, right? And unfortunately, they have leaned so heavily into the running game. Last week, they had the league's lowest neutral pass rate at 24%. 24% neutral pass rate against the Cardinals.
Smith is hurt now. It's like,
okay. So I think what's happening, and yes, I mean, Eagles fans pointed out, well, we scored 31 points. Yes, because Jalen Hurts is good, and you should give him the ball, and you should unleash Jalen Hurts as a passer. as a passer, not just as a guy running and then handing it off to DeAndre Swift, who may or may not be good. I don't even know anymore about DeAndre Swift. I think they're playing scared. They got to fix this before they go into the postseason, because this is not going to work. Their defense is garbage. I mean, like anybody, the Cardinals are not suddenly good, by the way.
No.
Okay. We just talked about Kyler Murray is not suddenly good. That's how bad the Eagles defense is that Kyler Murray and James Conner look like, Hall of Famers.
The Shaq Kobe meme.
Yes. And so you have to embrace, okay, our defense is going to get gouged by anybody we play in the playoffs. So we have to pour on the points. And the way you pour on the points is not by just running the ball on every first down, which is what they did against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I genuinely don't get how they don't understand this, that they're not going to win a slugfest at this point. They'll win a slugfest if they have 40 minutes time of possession. But you're not going to do that against.
That's actually, that's a great point. They want to get in a slugfest. They can't because of the defense yet, but they have not accepted that reality. There is a level of acceptance that teams must have, especially this time of year, right? And Nick Sirianni, I don't think, has quite reached that point.
It could honestly just all come down to they have no good options, because I feel like Jalen Hurts, he's getting surgery like 8 hours after the season.
Yeah, right.
I think the Hurts knee thing, this has just been my pet theory, but I think the Hurts knee thing is just like derailed the whole team. And that he's still like 70% Jalen Hurts, but he's not Jalen Hurts normal as a rusher, and he's not Jalen Hurts normal as a passer. And I feel like that's kind of like been the real, again, this is like my pet theory. I think this has been like the real downfall of the Eagles.
The offense. Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. The offense needs to run through AJ Brown in the postseason. Like we need to see 15 target games for AJ Brown every postseason game. It doesn't matter what the secondary is doing, like double coverage, triple coverage, throw it to AJ Brown. Forget this whole thing where you check down if they have two high safeties. You throw it up and let AJ Brown go get it. I think that's their only chance.
And it looks like instead they're going to, quote, feed Julio.
Well,
they fed Julio.
I definitely remembered that Julio Jones played in the NFL.
I know. So I did not want Kyle Dvorak to out this public. He asked if he could tweet about it on Sunday, and I said no. But I very earnestly asked in our Slack chat, who is Jones on the Eagles? Like, who the hell is Jones?
That's good.
And then the Zoomers reminded me of the ultimate millennial, Julio Jones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did at one point. I remembered that he was in the league, and then I forgot.
I had forgotten that Julio Jones was on the Philadelphia Eagles and somehow scoring 2 touchdowns in week 17. Getting near the end of the show, who scored 2 touchdowns over the past 2 weeks is George Pickens. And he was the ultimate regression candidate for week 17, and he did not regress at all.
That was hurtful.
He went mega nuclear again, 7 catches, like 126 yards. As we mentioned earlier, Mason Rudolph, far and away the best Steelers quarterback of the year so far. They didn't even pretend that he wasn't going to start in week 18 with everything on the line. They immediately announced him as the starter for this weekend. What are the stats on Pickens continuing to get away with it? And if anything, do you have on Mason Rudolph easily outplaying Mr. Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, so Pickens, was in the regression files because, man, oh man, did he get away with it in week 16. Then he continued in week 17. So just to give you an idea of his production, since Mason Rudolph took over under center for Pittsburgh, Pickens is averaging 1.15 fantasy points per route run. Okay, keep that number in your head. 1.15 fantasy points per route run. You got that. Okay. Before Mason Rudolph was under center, he was averaging 0.4 fantasy points per round. So we're talking about a slight difference in production. He's dominating air yards, 53% of the air yards since Rudolph took over. So that's awesome. And really that has fueled this sort of production. But the Steelers are still among the 3 run heaviest teams over those 2 weeks. So it's working. I guess it'll keep working because no one ever regresses anymore.
No, they do not.
Kids don't regress.
Nope.
But
Zoomers do not believe in regression.
But man, Pickens is doing it on very little volume.
He is, and this was the thing is with Pickens, as we know, is this was going to be who he was going to be even when he was good. We always knew he was going to be like a high variance, a volatile player, like the matchup flipper type. He's going to have 2 catches for 12 yards. or he's going to have 6 for 189 yards and a touchdown. And it has been way too much of the zeros. And we were beginning to wonder if he still even had the 6 for 189 in him. And then, like, a very marginal quarterback upgrade over Kenny Pickett very quickly proved that he did. And that the Steelers just really need to find religion in this offense and do something different for 2024, because they have no team is in greater need of just tearing up their scheme than the Pittsburgh Steelers are.
I saw The Athletic had a piece about the future of Kenny Pickett in 2024 and beyond, and they said, well, you know what? Maybe if they get a new coordinator, it could be good for Pickett. I mean,
I thought you were going to say hand enlargement surgery. Too soon.
No, that could be a solution. That might be analytics for Kenny Pickett, but they cannot go into next season with Pickett as their quarterback. They have to at least make him compete.
He's easier to move on from too than like Daniel Jones or Kyler Murray, because whatever, it's horrible to waste a first round pick, but he's still making like $4 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much. Yeah,
it's not a ruinous cap hit or anything. Like they just can't. And two, now, like, how is the team ever going to buy back into him when he's clearly just been benched for Mason Rudolph? Like, can you really go back to this guy? Can the proud Pittsburgh Steelers seriously go back? I guess the Steelers are the one team that could. Like, yeah, it's the Steeler way, folks.
Right. He played at Pittsburgh. He played at Pittsburgh. Are you upset?
Yeah, you upset about that? And it sounds like you seem a little triggered. Like, yes, I am. Like, I wasn't trying to hide that I was triggered by this. I'm very, very triggered by it. You're like, oh, all right. Yeah, all right. Well, fine. We'll bench him. Yeah. Final note? No, we got a few more notes here. You wanted to check in on your words, the Breece Hall PPR scam. 21 catches over the past 2 weeks. Of course, this is like the ultimate consolation bracket performance. Not in best ball.
Really?
The best ball bros, our friend, our brother, Pat Carrain. Yeah, he got home in time for Pat Carrain. Didn't get home in time for redraft fantasy managers. We had 21 catches over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Trevor Siemian relentlessly targets running backs, including who was it? Was it not Michael Carter didn't play for them?
Israel Abanikanda.
Yeah, Izzy. He targeted Izzy in the last couple drives of the game when the game was out of hand against the Browns on Thursday night. I mean, Breece Hall with better game script could have seen 15 targets in that game. So the PPR scam is in full swing. It doesn't even really matter what he does on the ground, although he's been pretty good on the ground as well late in the season. So for week 18, I think if they're gonna continue to play him, then he's gonna continue to see a ton of targets no matter what happens. And that's awesome. I want to say real quick that I headlined the Breece Hall Thursday night blurb, and I said that he continued the PPR scam, and people got offended. They got mad. And I'm not disparaging it. I love it.
Yeah, no one loves the PPR scam more than Denny Carter. Not a bit.
I want to be clear. Like, they say, the writer of this blurb is bitter. I'm not bitter. I love a scam, and Breece Hall is scamming his way to like CMC style production.
People always get very upset about the Thursday night headlines. As you know, I typically blurb up the Thursday night game. Mr. Denny Carter had to step in last Thursday, and they always take those ones really personal. I don't know why. People, I think, are in a surly mood if their fantasy week starts off bad.
Oh, there you go.
You're upset about it. All right. Who's the crybaby writing these?
Yeah,
this guy to start this week? This guy's first fantasy matchup this week? I'm like, no.
I do like, I mean, come on. When you got to play fantasy long enough, or when you play fantasy long enough, you have to become immune to the Thursday night either disaster or the great performance by your guys. You didn't win anything and you didn't lose anything on Thursday night. Relax.
It ends up not mattering 69% of the time.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I played in Njoku. You're still gonna win. There you go.
You're still easily gonna win. I played Joe Flacco throwing for 7 touchdowns in the first half. Guess what? You're still gonna win.
Congratulations on the victory.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Wow, Joe Flacco becoming the greatest player in league history.
Yeah. Can we talk just real quick? I don't know. Did you see the vitriolic reaction from Ravens fans when I suggested that Joe Flacco was playing better right now than he did for the Ravens?
No, I didn't. And I did. Yeah. I know people are like, I don't know if you ever heard of this little thing called the 2012 playoffs.
Ooh, he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Did you see that? Yeah, I saw that. So what?
And even then, that was like 4 different throws. This is like Joe Flacco, like 7 times a quarter completing a 40-yard pass. I've seriously never seen anything like it.
I was stunned. I didn't think that was controversial at all. That he's never played this well. I'm really sorry to the Ravens fans. He has not. And they said, well, I watched every game. I got this a lot. I watched every game that Flacco played for the Ravens. And my question, so what? So what?
So
what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. So you watch some Ravens games. What does that mean? I watch Ravens games too. I live in Maryland. I know Joe Flacco personally. He comes over.
You golf with Joe Flacco.
I told him, I said, you stunk for the Ravens and you're great for the Browns.
Joe Flacco, my God, he had more than 25 touchdowns one time. It was 27. It was 27.
And if he had played the whole season in this Browns offense, he eclipses it. He gets to 40. He gets to 40.
He has 13 touchdowns in 5 games. His final full season as Ravens starter, he had 18 touchdowns.
I'm just so confused about the reality that I lived in during the Flacco years in Baltimore, and then their reality. And their reality is, well, he only had Anquan Bolden. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it.
This, by the way, too, like the Kevin Stefanski scheme clearly works absolute miracles on everyone except for Deshaun Watson, and just a real great sign that Jacoby Brissett and Joe Flacco have both been like visibly better than Deshaun Watson in the Browns offense.
They should look into trading. Well, I think if they trade Deshaun Watson, then they would have to declare bankruptcy.
They would. Well, Jimmy Haslam could cost plus someone. He knows how to create some extra money.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't go to Jimmy Haslam's Wikipedia, except immediately go.
Yeah,
to Jimmy Haslam's Wikipedia. I mean, do we need to talk about the Jag? I don't know why I haven't put the Jags thing on here. Who cares?
I don't.
Trevor Lawrence probably going to play. Like Christian Kirk might be activated.
I mean, honestly, like if the Jaguars make the playoffs, so what?
I know it's like I was like, all right, whatever. Like who's winning that game? Whoever's playing them, let's move on.
Put these guys out of their misery. This is horrific.
It's been tough to watch. It's been real tough to watch.
I mean, they're like a boring, banged up team. Man,
don't get them wrong. Of course, they instantly shut out Bryce Young and the Panthers. Like they're not that bad. Like, of course, they're still going to shut out the Panthers, but they're going to lose to almost anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's the Panthers. Jeez.
I mean, not to completely date ourselves, but I couldn't believe when Kyle made this reference. He really is the dude from Monty Python right now, Trevor Lawrence. It's just every week he's getting a different body part severely injured and still playing through it somehow.
It is fun. I've never seen beat writers being like, we're really pulling for the Jags not to play Trevor Lawrence this week.
I know.
We're hoping that the team makes the right decision.
We hope Doug Peterson does the right thing. Doug Peterson will never do the right thing. Yeah, he will. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. Real quick, we couldn't end the show without you talking about Juwan Johnson, who went absolutely nuts in week 17. What do you have to say about it?
I'm upset because I'm not playing with you here. I took him out of a couple lineups, DFS lineups at the last second because I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing with Juwan Johnson against a pass funnel Bucs defense? This makes no sense. And he goes off. Just to give you an idea of how rare that is for Johnson. He was targeted on 46% of his pass routes. I don't think that will continue.
No.
So he had 12 targets. He had never had a game in his NFL career with more than 7 targets entering that week. So, folks, that's not going to continue. I'm brave enough to say it. I'm a truth teller. That's the truth.
He did have 7 targets in week 16, though. So he matched his career high in week 16.
All right.
And then he exceeded it in week 17.
He is good. I will say that he's been frustrating because I think he's actually a converted wide receiver. And so he plays like a receiver as a monster tight end. The Saints should look strongly into continuing to use him as a pass catcher in the middle of the field because, wow, he dominated.
He was having one of those mid-career breakouts last year. And he's one of those guys, all the progress got stopped with Derek Carr. It's weird. Derek Carr's like not even actually bad. He's just like the most bizarre quarterback in the NFL. Derek Carr, and they might make the playoffs. So
they probably will. So the scenarios they have a pretty good path. pretty.
Can they be a
not-
wild card team? Because I mean, the Bucks are gonna beat the Panthers. Let's be real. Can
Okay.
the Saints be a wild card team? Maybe they can. I don't know. There's no way to find out. Go to rotoworld.com.
Except for if you keep it locked into the Week 18 motivation article written by Kyle Dvorak.
Mr. Kyle, he will be with us on Thursday when Kyle did. And I don't know what we're gonna. We'll do a different kind of show this week, but we're still gonna preview the entire Week 18 slate. I'm gonna try to think of what we might do. I might ask you and Kyle just for a player you care about from each team or something like that. We will figure that out though before the Thursday show. The regression files, I'm assuming, will they still be up this week?
They will be. They'll be up on Wednesday on the site, and then I will have the funnel report as per usual.
I'm gonna still have a rankings article, but it's gonna be more of just a pure ranking shell. I know some of you are playing in Week 18. We don't want to forget the people who are actually playing in Week 18. People, of course, playing DFS.
We love the sickos.
We do. We still need rankings, so there will still be rankings. There will be regression files. There will be the motivation tracker from Kyle's out there. And then, Kyle, Denny, and I will be back on Thursday. Good luck in the interim. Keep it locked to rotoworld.com for all the latest news updates. For Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you for listening. We will be back later this week.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Rotoworld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.